Alright, for today's video, hello everybody, this is Kunal, and for today's video I have decided to go back to some important topic during these troubled times: Mao Zedong's propaganda. So here I want to analyze the different trends going on in the society of today. This goes back to what Mao did in the 1950s. Actually, this studies the war from 1926 to 1949, and the second section is about the 50s and the 60s until this book. So let me show you the page so you can follow along in the separate video if you so choose. Okay, so this is the page 1, page 2, page 3. Hopefully that helps. But so Mao used Leninist propaganda techniques, principles, and adapted them to his own circumstances. But he didn't know more than that, but with remarkable precision and perfect comprehension of the given facts. Wow. Maybe he has access to their secret documents, I don't know. Well, that's a pretty amazing claim. So from the point of view of propaganda, the situation of Mao had three essential aspects: complete absence of mass media, a vast number of people to be reached, and the revolutionary character of the war he led. And I was just thinking it's kind of similar to today. I said that in the last video. And because of that situation, the two principles of his propaganda had to be education and organization. Information, which was directed and manipulated on the Leninist pattern, together with instruction, was what is called education. And it has the aim to modify the whole human being by giving him a totally new view of the world and awakening in him a range of feelings. So new view of the world, brainwashing, and awakening in him a range of feelings, reactions, thoughts, and attitudes. So generation of feelings, reactions, thoughts, and attitudes that are different, entirely different from those to which he was accustomed. So Mao always gave first place to education, but he always considered propaganda most important, especially initially. And the aim of the propaganda was to elicit hatreds, to spur national and patriotic feelings. Spur national and patriotic feelings. So hence the MGTOW brothers, they criticized the female society, the feminocracy, the feminism, which has its aim to elicit hatreds, spur not national but gender feelings of patriotism, and to play on the prestige of the feminazi soldier and on the fear of reprisals. So you cannot criticize, respect all women, and so forth. And these are the traditional traits of propaganda. And then organization means every individual must be put in a network comprising many organizations surrounding him on all sides, controlling him on all levels. But the aim is not to stifle the individual through organization, it is to make him an active member of that organization. Hence, I get the criticism that I'm a crybaby because I have emotional reactions that are preventing me from being an active member of organization. I need to get back on my meds. These principles underwent modifications according to changing circumstances. Obviously, the period of war must be distinguished from the period of consolidation. Personally, I think being off the meds helps me think more paranoid and more critically. Not critically, but creatively. Because my critical thinking sometimes gets reserved when I get in diluted modes of thinking from excessive abuse of substances provoked by those excessive abuse of certain substances. And anyway, so that's a skill too. Maybe useful, maybe not in the nomadic century. Time will tell. So these principles underwent modifications. So just like an animal farm, once the pigs took over the power with the great propaganda of equality, they slowly and surely subverted all the laws to favor them and their greedy ways. So obviously these principles underwent modifications according to changing circumstances, and the period of war must be distinguished from the period of consolidation. So in different times, I guess there's different principles. Well, the principles of organization and education are modified differently according to whether it's war or consolidation. So the war was a long war, 23 years, from 1926 to 1949. Education. In conquered and more or less controlled territories, the task was to spread the principal revolutionary thesis of Marxism via slogans through explanations of the three principles of the people. Sounds like what I was doing with Ayurveda. And by meetings at which the wealthy and the exploiters were to be denounced. Heard that before? Political education was aimed less at agitation and rebellion and more at slow and deep infusion of certain economic notions based on the widespread desire for land distribution. So now that I'm thinking what's going on with the agitation and rebellion of Antifa types of organizations and the political education coming from them, which is not slow and deep but very provocative. But a similar situation, I think the prelude to these protests are what happened during the last end of the world, which was in 2012, and before that there were a lot of Wall Street protests. So at that time, when you analyze that the Marxist techniques being promoted there, Infowars, I think, was the source through which I got red-pilled about it. But they were doing this slow and deep infusion of certain notions based on the widespread desire for more freedom, more space, and so forth. Land distribution here, and economic notions in China. But yeah, I thought then it was slow and deep infusion of certain certain emotional engineering tactics, I would say. That's what Alex Jones was exposing. So meetings, marches, banners, and posters were used for the dissemination of these slogans. A lot of feminist pictures of these things which shows that this was Marxist education, which implies I don't make accusations, I make probable cause statements because I'm not a judge. I'm a police officer trained to kill with lethal force if necessary. Anyhow, the explanations always took place in naturally structured groups, such as the peasant union. So, these educational things are always done in classrooms. They're not done individually one-on-one, which is the true process of red pilling through a Padawan, an initiate and a master experience. But no, and these are in classrooms, so automatically you're in a childish mental state because of being in a group. Right. So these are naturally structured groups, like the peasant union. I don't know what that means, but peasant union, okay. Political education clearly was pushed much harder in the principal propaganda organization, the army. So the Chinese use the army. They're still using the army very well. For propaganda purposes, you always hear the army on the news. So some lives have to be sacrificed to make a story. So be it. We got lives for days. Male lives, that is. Hence, in 1984, George Orwell said that shit is in East Asia, they worship, well, they don't worship, but their system is called death worship, translated, or Kali Yuga, the age of Kali. The Vikings had a similar thing, the age of Ragnarok, Mayan end times, and the bizarre world, dead world, world of the dead. So, yeah, the army was given the permanent Marxist education, total indoctrination, and the attempt, although it's done in such a way nowadays with the socialism, that it's all seems like, yo, everybody is free, everybody can choose, information is free, you know, free country and so forth. So, attempt was made to raise the political level of party and army members, so that would help make them more loyal proponents of the cause, for sure. And this was accompanied by the struggle against purism, individualism, egalitarianism, and so on. So there's always a cause with feminism and so forth, which is a deviant form of individualism, obviously. Total narcissistic, geared for a narcissistic society. They live style. So the object was therefore not so much immediate rebellion as political mobilization. So objective, political mobilization. So it's not about making one dramatic splash. It's about the continuity and duration of the political mobilization of the propaganda apparatus, in the course of which propaganda had to set into motion the masses, who would themselves realize the catchwords and promises of propaganda. This may well be an original idea conceived by Mao, he who formulates a slogan not being the one to fulfill the promise it contains. The slogan will mobilize the people, who will then have to do the work to attain the objective contained in the formula that excited them in the first place. So the formula is used to excite them to attain the objective, using the all-powerful Brave New World and 1984 idea of the slogan, now also called meme or Me Too. Now the character assassination era has begun. Inquisition Century 21 was 2005 and on, but this is the second level of it, part 2. Kind of believe that theory, starting to believe that theory that the world is just you can't really affect it, it's just a repeating loop, and you can just play a part in it. If you want to belong. Because obviously when you belong to the group, like he just showed you in this book, you become smaller, you become a child. So you're not belonging, you're be shortening. But anyway, that's spells. The spells they put over our minds. So he formulates a slogan to mobilize the people. They do the work, attain the objective in the formula that excited them in the first place. In non-controlled territories, this type of work was much less intense. So if you didn't have control over the territory,